Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the second installment of TGIT. Thank goodness it's today, the podcast that takes a couple of fantastic quotes from people much smarter than me and see if we could apply it week to week from more of a psychological standpoint. As I'm currently, my name is TJ, the host of the show. I'm currently a practicing behavioral health group therapist that works at a place that primarily deals with addiction and chronic pain, but we have all types of people: bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, depression, anxieties, what have you. We're going to see if we can take some of those beautiful, fulfilling quotes that you see on Instagram or Facebook and see how we can apply it to our week. And the reason why is because we know we got these dreams, we got these goals, we got these visions of ourselves that we want to be. Stressors take us off course, negative thoughts take us off course, negative emotions take us off course. Consider this just another thing to focus in on, another focal point to help you find meaning, because every single day is extremely meaningful, and we're just going to see if we can treat it as such, right? So first quote I'll share with you, actually from a cartoon called Adventure Time. I think that's what it is. It's like, dude, sucking at something is the first step towards being sort of good at something, right? Because that's how your brain's gonna look at it, right? It's not like you're starting off as a beginner. Your brain kind of will be like, for lack of a better word, like, oh man, you suck at this, you suck at this, you suck at this, right? It may sound extremely negative like that, right? And once again, that will stop us, right? But for anybody that was ever good at anything, of course there's natural talent and all those things, I completely agree with all that, but they were probably not very good at the beginning, right? Or if so, they determined with their skill set that they did really suck, because obviously they ended up being supreme athletes. But for the most part, once again, you have to start at a sucking point. You will start at a sucking point. And it is simply telling yourself that I know my brain is going to tell me that I suck this and this, but I'm trying. This is in line, once again, with my purpose, with my goals. I have to get through this in order to get through some of my other things, right? So keep in mind that it might sound like that, and that's why I like using that one, right? It doesn't need to be perfect, only truthful. Okay. Another thing that we tend to do is if we're not perfect, if it didn't go perfectly as planned, we look back and go over things and try to see where the perfection was. It's only got to be true. It's only got to be genuinely authentic. So when you're going back through some of those old things, ask yourself, stop, introduce a diaphragmatic breath, right? And then just say to yourself, was it truthful at the time? Were my intentions pure? For some of us, it was, the intentions were pure. They were just a little misguided, right? And guess what? That's life. You're going to be fine. You got to get through it, right? So once again, if it is perfection from the past, perfection in yourself, identifying that if you are being all of you, that is the only type of perfection that you need, okay? What is it? Everything is created twice, first in the mind and then in reality. It is extremely hard to make something done in the reality when it's not done in the mind. And the mind is where we normally get stopped, because in reality, you have all the tools, you have all the skill sets, you have all the opportunities in order to get to whatever the heck it is that you want. But the hardest part is creating that reality in our mind. You have to consciously do it with goals, with fears, with identifying your thoughts, with identifying other ways to possibly behave a little bit better towards that goal, and really try to prioritize what you really want to do. So whatever it is that you're trying to see in the reality, ask yourself, am I creating it in the mind with my thoughts and with my behaviors? Because we may not be. And if not, identify how you can. Learn, understand, and try to get after it, right? Boom. And then the next one, I have no responsibility to live up to what others expect of me. That's their mistake, not my failing. That's an important one to keep in mind. That is their mistake, not my failing, because it's always going to feel like our fault, right? Personalization. It's going to be very easy to latch onto it. It's got to be me in some degree, right? And now we're just introducing this other way of thinking about it, and it's simply put, it is their mistake, it's not my fault, right? It is their mistake, it is not my fault, because what they want of me is not what I want of me. That is their mistake, and it's not my fault for being the person that I want to be. So with some of those family members or friends that are giving you a little bit of a hard time, once again, you have no responsibility to live up to what others expect of you, right? That is their mistake, not your failing, because you're doing a beautiful job. You're only failing if you're not going towards the things that you really want, right? So just keeping that in mind. And then boom, what's the next one? Okay, mental toughness often comes gift wrapped in failure, struggle, and fatigue. In fact, mental toughness only comes from failure, struggle, and fatigue, and then you consciously pushing past that and continuing to train that, right? You cannot get mental toughness until you take a failure and simply say, I'm gonna try again tomorrow. Take a failure and say, this isn't gonna deter me. Take a failure and say that I know that my brain's making this a much bigger deal than it is. I'm gonna move forward anyways. And the struggle, you want the struggle because you know if you're getting a little bit of discomfort from the subconscious brain is trying to stop, you know that that is something that is most likely going to be worth your while. So you want a little bit of struggle. And if you're tired, good. If you're tired, good. That means you're working. That means you're feeding. That means you're getting better and closer, and work is being done. So all three of those things that they're being faced, just constantly look at them in a different way. Train yourself to do so, to find a new routine to fall into the 92% of thoughts that research has shown tends to be repeated day after day. 92% of the thoughts that we have today are most likely repeats from yesterday. Introducing a new fold, because some of those struggles, failures, and fatigue issues are not necessarily because of our conscious thoughts today, more so the thoughts that we have already had and decided, but today we're breaking the mold, right? All right, next one. A person is no bigger than the smallest thing that provokes you, okay? You can be all high and mighty, right? But if you get stressed out by that comment on Instagram, right? If that person looks at you for too long, if you walk by a group of people, they start laughing, you automatically think that it's something that has to do with you, right? Those are the smallest things that can really leapfrog its way into much bigger and bigger issues, right? So seriously, taking into consideration, what are some of the smallest things that provoke you, right? What are some ways that you can consciously rationalize and make it either annoyingly positive or once again rationalize in a way that you can get through? Because once again, this is just a time to introduce different thoughts, because whenever these things provoke you, the stressor comes up and you get a really high, sorry there's a B, stay B, and you're gonna get a really high emotional pull, and it's going to be one of those things that you're going to feel a lot of danger, but you have to just okay, now it's on me. Okay, now you have to introduce the control back, right, with your thoughts, with your breathing, and the more that you do that, it will provoke you less. You'll get a little bit more of a control on it, and it's something that we're going to condition, right? And then I like this last one, end it. Evolving involves eliminating. Okay, so oftentimes we think by evolving is just by adding things. You've got to seriously look week after week and identify, there's some things that have slipped into my life that should not be there. Was this week, is there something this week that I need to eliminate for next week, this thing that popped in, okay? Because once again, we spend a lot of times consciously trying to identify how to evolve, but we're not necessarily doing a good job of looking back and saying, what are some of the things that I need to eliminate on, and some of those things that I need to grow on and replace that are more purposeful and kind of helpful in the long run of my life, right? So, kind of ran through this pretty quick. I think I missed a lot of the names for them, so I'm going to go through it again. Dude, sucking at something is the first step towards being sort of good at something. That is always going to be the case, and more so because the brain is going to be like, oh my gosh, you suck, you should give up, and it's going to be very, very hard to go with, but that's the first step, being sort of good at something, and after sort of good, that's what can get you to that goal that's way, way, way over there. There's a lot of steps you have to do, a lot of little steps to do in the meantime. Take those little steps, get after it, okay? And that was by Adventure Time. It doesn't need to be perfect, only truthful, by Danielle Dart. Hopefully that's Dobie. Okay. Once again, your brain is going to demand perfection in yourself and in your past and the future. It's only got to be truthful. Is your intention pure? That could be one thing that can, when you start going off the rails, just say, hey, was this truthful? Was my intention pure? Yes, it was. I learned, and now I'm going to be a little bit better for the future, right? Training that different conscious way of looking at it. Everything is created twice, first in the mind and then in reality, but we just expect it a lot easier in the reality, but we have to make it easier by consciously going through all of the little things, creating it up here. Your brain has a hard time differentiating whether you're experiencing something, whether you're, whether you're thinking about something or whether you're experiencing something, right? So if I sit here and I'm envisioning myself shooting a basketball hoop, if you put electrodes on me, you'll see those muscles firing off. So yes, by you seriously thinking about the big things, the small things, the thoughts, the behaviors, everything that goes into whatever that reality you want to be is, when you get all those, you're going to just be able to increase the likelihood of that reality becoming reality. I guess, right? And that was by Robin S. Sharman. Okay, I have no responsibility to live up to what others expect of me. That's their mistake, not my failing. I got unknown here. I'm sure someone could look it up and see what it's from. Mental toughness often comes gift wrapped in failure, struggle, and fatigue, from my friend Kaylee. Thank you for sharing that, Kaylee. A person is no bigger than the smallest thing that provokes them. Okay, by Dan Horton. And evolving involves eliminating. All right, so I want you to take those quotes throughout this week in order to help you get consciously a little bit closer to whatever version of yourself that you truly want. And I will see you next week. Have a beautiful rest of your day. TGIT. Thank goodness it's today.